Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Do we really need the iMac? Or is there a better, cheaper option? Oh, but there is. Alright, I want to look at the base model of each of these machines. Okay? What we get, what we don't get, and what's it going to cost to actually get better than the iMac for far less money. Alright, now, let's do keep in mind that this is an M3. This is the newest iMac. They never did an M2. Okay, so we do have ray tracing in this. We do have that new caching system. And game mode, well, that's part of Mac OS Sonoma. It has nothing to do with the chips, whether it's an M1, M2, or M3. Okay, so we do have an 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, 256 gigs of crummy storage, and 8 gigs of pathetic RAM for $1,700. Okay? Now, I'm going to challenge you on this one. Come to think of it, you know what? We're not going to go completely base. I think we need to do this right. Okay? So, we want to try and get as close as we can. Okay? So, let's go 16 by half a terabyte. I think that's a good configuration. To be honest, that's what I have in my own Mac Mini M1. Okay, 16 by half a terabyte. So, and that actually will do you for, depending on your usage and how you do things, it could do you for quite a few years. And still have, like a pile of games on there. Not necessarily a pile of AAA games, mind you, but you're going to easily get a pile of games on there, whether they're cheesy App Store games or maybe you've converted a few games using Paul Attal's porting toolkit like I did, so I can play Skyrim on my Mac and among a few other games that are normally just PC only things. So, and I still got over 300 gigs free on my internal 512 with a fully loaded Logic Pro, GarageBand, iMovie, DaVinci Resolve, etc., my word processor, all that jazz, because you're not going to fit a third of that on 8 by 256. You are not even going to have the storage space on 256 to even get Logic on there with all of its updates and GarageBand and iMovie. And yeah, you're still going to have, you just don't have the space at 256. So we're going to try and be fair. So this is going to cost you $21.99. This is the practical, okay? Now, you are only going to get 2 Thunderbolt ports on here, but we are going to add in Ethernet because I think it's important because anybody who's running internet in their house, which is everybody, okay, because it's the only way to get OS updates and stuff, Wi-Fi is not the most reliable system. It is limited in range, okay? And of course, you need a fast connection coming into your house regardless whether it's Wi-Fi or whatever. Ethernet is actually more stable, okay, than what, or Ethernet's more stable than Wi-Fi, I find anyways. That's just my opinion. But let's do this up to try and be as fair as we can. But we're still going to be missing a lot of things, okay? Now this is an all-in-one computer, and it's actually only a 23.5-inch display. Apple calls it a 24, but if you measure it, it's 23.5. So we don't have a 27-inch iMac anymore, which really does kind of suck, okay? But we only got 2 Thunderbolt 4 USB 4 ports, okay? We do get a keyboard and mouse, which everybody hates the mouse, and I understand why. I have 2 of them, and yes, they suck because, well, it's still lightning port for charging, but they put the lightning port on the bottom so you can't even use the mouse while it's charging. At least you can use the keyboard while it's charging, but the keyboards are flexible and they bend easy. A friend of mine recently found that out. He has the extended keyboard in black, and he hadn't noticed when he bought the computer. He got it used until he gets it all set up on his desk and everything. It's like, there's a bit of a wobble here. So he did manage to bend it back carefully. So for a $150 keyboard that he's got, and the mouse was like $90, okay, the keyboard absolutely sucks, and it doesn't light up, and you are stuck on the Apple keyboard and Apple mouse, at one device only. Now, the only way to use these on your iPad, for example, would be using the screen push-through feature. So you could just, your keyboard and mouse would automatically follow. Now, that has a good point to it, but unfortunately, those features don't work on PCs. So if you're trying to keep your setup so you can do your ultimate gaming on your PC and you've got your Mac and you only want one keyboard and mouse, ain't gonna work for you. And the mouse absolutely sucks for gaming even on the Mac. So most people probably have bought better keyboards and better mice and either sold these off or thrown them in the closet to forget about them because they're garbage anyways. So, but we're trying to be a little fair here, okay? But they're still expensive, more so than what you're about to see. This is $22.29, $2,229 before tax. Okay, now this isn't ideal. This is going to last you for a couple of years depending on what you're doing and how you're doing stuff. Okay, right? This is ideal. Now, we're going to go to the Mac Mini. All right, the cheapest Mac Mini. And even on the cheapest Mac Mini, we're going to view what we get. Now, even though this is an M2, the M3s are going to be coming out probably, I don't know, whenever the next major event is. It was a YouTube thing this morning. They're suspecting that we're going to see about a $100 hike on the M3. So that would be like 900 Canadian at that point. Right now we're at 800. Okay, Apple keeps jacking the prices. It's like, hello, Apple, we can't afford your garbage anymore. Sorry. No, it's not garbage. It's great stuff. I love Apple stuff. I will never turn my back on Apple, and yes, I will continue to pay. Okay, only because there's no computer out there that can match the Apple computer. But we do get 2 USB-A, we get HDMI, we get 2 Thunderbolt ports, and we automatically get Ethernet, which is gigabit. Now, on the iMac, you can only get gigabit Ethernet on any of their selections. On this, you can get 1 gigabit, or for a few bucks more, you can get 10 gigabit. Okay, so if you are looking at high performance internet, yeah, fiber optics can go up to 8 gig through Bell, right? And we now have access to fiber optic out in the country, which is nice. But we're not on the fiber system. We're on a different system that's, works for us and it's plenty fast, right? But either way, you can get 10 gigabit on the Mini. You cannot get that on the iMac. So we're going to leave that part alone. We're going to leave this at a gigabit because it's fair, right? So, well, it's not entirely fair. Now, you can only go one extra display on the iMac to get 2. But no matter what you do, at 4K or even a 6K, you're stuck at 60 hertz. You don't have that problem with the Mini. The HDMI port, at least I know for a fact on the M1 Mini, is good for up to 144 hertz at 2K. Okay, and at 4K, it's 60. Okay, that's kind of a sucky part, but But we could probably cure that by getting a 120 hertz 4K display and going off the Thunderbolt port, and then we're all happy. And then we got an ideal gaming rig. Okay? 60 hertz is kind of, it works pretty good for gaming for the most part, but I probably wouldn't want to use 60 hertz if I'm playing like some really nice AAA games, which now do run quite well. In fact, on the M3s, better than what they do on the M2s, but still playable on the M2s, okay? Either way, we do have these 2 ports, but we have these 2 extra. And we can go to 2 different screens, too. Now, I have managed, without any hassle on 2K, to get 165 hertz out of the Thunderbolt, where HDMI, I can only get 144 hertz at 2K. That's it, even on a 165 hertz panel. So we know the limitation of the HDMI. We're not sure what the limitation of Thunderbolt is, because I only have a 165 hertz panel. I can't test beyond that for Thunderbolt hookup with a display port. So anyways, you see what we get extra. Now this starts at $7.99, but we're going to go 16, and we're going to go by half a terabyte. Same deal, okay? We're leaving the 10 gigabit alone. Okay, it's 125 bucks more if you want it, but we want to try and keep it fair to the iMac because the iMac can't take advantage. So we're at $12.99. Now, you see we're at $22.29 here with the iMac. Okay, so let's see what's it going to cost us to get the Mac Mini actually functional, because this is not a freaking computer until you've got a keyboard and a mouse and a screen. Okay, period. Now, and we're also going to keep in fairness with 60 hertz to also keep the budget under control too. So I have a 4K IPS screen, which is 27 inch, so that's a little unfair, but you know, it's 27 inch, and everybody loves the 27 inch iMacs, right? We don't get that anymore. Apple split the difference between 27 and 21 and gave us 23.5 in reality. They just called it a 24 to try and make us feel better. But regardless, we have $12.99 point plus. Now my screen on sale is $329, or sorry, $320. Yeah, it was $329. So three. Trying to think, was it $329 or $320? You know what? We're gonna be generous. We're gonna call it $329. I'm pretty sure it was $320, but anyway, so plus $320. Wow, we'll add the other $9. Okay, so plus $9. All right. So my keyboard is $140 for the Mac only version. I now have the Mac PC version, and it was actually on sale for $129 at Best Buy recently. So I'm going to add that as $129, right? And it's the Mac and PC because I do have a PC, right? So, but that's $129. But even at full retail is $140. All right, you know what? We're going to call it $140. So plus $140, okay? Now, this is a Logitech MX Master keyboard. So it lights up, for one. As soon as you get your hands near it, it automatically lights up. You can also control the lighting. It has full-size keyboard, which is better than what the iMac comes with. This is heavy duty, will not bend or flex. Okay, it's rechargeable as well, and the battery even outlasts between charge cycles over an Apple keyboard by far. Okay, the keys have more travel. They feel nicer. They're just, it's just an all-around 500% keyboard better. And Apple's extended keyboard is $150, so that's actually more. That's almost $10 more, right? So this is actually less money, and you get more for your money. So now my mouse is the Logitech Master Mouse. Okay, that was $79 retail. Okay, and that thing this thing has more buttons than even I know what to do with. The difference between the Master and the Master Mac version 3. Which I did have originally, was a piece of garbage in the end. This one has not screwed up even once. Holds a long charge of use. I don't have to charge these very often. Has all the same features as the other one, just a slightly different shape. And will use the Mac Logitech software from the Milestone 3 onto this one with all the exact same programmability. I am not using the Logitech software, but I still get access to, I think, pretty much all the buttons except for, I think I do get access to all of them because I think my other side buttons work as back and forward buttons. So yeah. Anyway, but so that's $1847 is what we're at for a fully functional system. And we have gigabit Ethernet. We have 16 by 512, the same. We have extra ports, okay? We have a choice of either going HDMI or using up one of the Thunderbolt ports, or we can have two screens regardless. Okay, now you would still have two screens in the iMac because you get the internal, one external, right? You know, we do have these extra ports available. And this thing is also quiet as a mouse and has a huge honking fan in it. It is also going to run a lot cooler, even under a heavy load. It's going to run cooler than the iMac because it's got a big honking fan in there. The iMac's got a little wee one, okay? That's about it. So it's not going to be that easy to even thermal throttle this. Desktops are always better, and even though the iMac is a desktop, it still doesn't run as cool as this thing does. Okay, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos on this too, so I got a pretty good idea what's happening, right? All right, so when we go and we look at the tax here, we're looking at 1847. So if we times that by 1.13, we're only at $2,087. And we have a 4K IPS panel at 60 hertz, 27 inch. We have a far superior keyboard and mouse that'll do everything and then some. Okay. We have the 16 by half a terabyte. We have built-in Ethernet. We had to pay extra for the iMac. Shouldn't have to, but we did. Okay. And we have all these extra ports, etc. So we have a lot more bang for our buck here at $2,087 with tax. The iMac is $2,229. Okay. It's more money, and that's pre-tax. Okay, so let me go over to my other computer and fire up my other calculator just so I don't have to switch here. Okay, so we got 2,229 point times 1.13. So that's $2,518 to go to the iMac and have less ports, less flexibility, and no screen options except for external. And on the internal and external, no matter what resolution you are jammed at 60 hertz. Now, here's the thing. On a 60 hertz panel like I have, I am still in the same boat on the one main screen. I am stuck at 60 hertz regardless of my resolution. But if I were to go to a higher resolution screen, a higher refresh rate screen, I would get that higher refresh, which I'm not going to see on the iMac. Even with an external display, it won't matter. You are stuck at 60 hertz. Okay. Whereas the Mini, if you buy a 60 hertz panel, yes, you are stuck at 60 hertz regardless of refresh. But if you buy a higher refresh panel, which would cost you an additional $500 because you would have to go to 120 hertz, right? You could at least get that 120 hertz, right? And at 2K, you're definitely going to take advantage as well. Now, I ran my Mac Mini M1 base model with a DisplayPort adapter to cable to my 2x4K display, which is a 32-inch. And at 2K, I got 165 hertz. I was locked at 2K off of that Thunderbolt port with the DisplayPort adapter. But if I used my HDMI, I was 144 hertz to the HDMI hookup at 2K, but at 4K, yes, I was stuck at 60 hertz because that's just the way things seem to be working. So I'm thinking the only way around this is going to be to end up getting myself a 120 hertz 4K native display, and then I should be able to, in theory, okay, because I have no way of knowing this until it's done, in theory, I should be able to get that full 120 hertz because it's rated at 120 hertz 4K native. So I should be able to get that out of the Mini regardless. But either way, I would be stuck on the iMac for sure. No matter what panel I put on there, the secondary only supports up to 60 hertz. Okay, so that kind of really does suck there. But either way, we've saved almost $500. Okay, by going with the Mini, which gives us almost $500 we could blow on other goodies, like an external Thunderbolt drive or a hub perhaps if we need one. We are definitely going to need a hub on the iMac, regardless, because those two Thunderbolt ports, they're useless, okay? So we're going to need to do something about that. And besides, right off the hop, before my hub even comes into play, I already have one USB-A port for my hub in use, and it's a 7-port, and I have the other USB-A direct connect for my USB interface, because you must go direct hookup for your USB interface. They do not work off hubs properly. Even powered hubs, I've tried it, doesn't work. Okay. Both Thunderbolt ports I have in use with 2 Thunderbolt drives. Okay, so they're both running at 2757 read writes. You know, and then of course I'm using my HDMI port for my screen. So I'm pretty loaded here, you know, and I still have a card reader off of my hub, because that works fine, and it does the micro and the standard sized cards, right? It's just a little hub, and there you go. My microphone is also plugged into my hub, which is how we're able to record the audio. Now, there is a side benefit to the iMac too. It does have a built-in set of mics, and it does have a webcam, and it does have built-in speakers, okay? However, you don't even need the webcam on the iMac. You can just use your iPhone, if it's a qualifying iPhone, and you will get a better 1080p picture off your iPhone than you ever will off that built-in 1080p camera on the iMac, okay? So we know that there's pluses and minuses to both of these, right? But you know what? We got this extra almost $500 to chew out. So my mic, I can't remember what I paid for it, but you don't need a super high-end mic anyways, but I think mine was like $100 and some. It's made by Shure, and it's a really nice studio mic. It does a wonderful job. So even that, we still have a lot of room with that almost $500 left to get a microphone, okay, to buy the hub, buy the card reader, okay, and we're still going to have money left. I guarantee it, okay, and we're still going to have money left over to do a few other things if we want to. Whereas with the iMac, well, we're kind of broke. You know, we're like almost $500 over the price of the Mini. It's just ridiculous, right? And we're getting so much less overall in the iMac over the Mini. So in my books, getting a Mac Mini works. More customizable. You get to choose your own display. And even speakers, right? $130 for speakers. You know what? I think we're going to add a few more things in here to be just a little more realistic here. I'm going to take 130. So I think that's about what I paid for them anyways. And these are reference monitors. Now, they're not incredibly great for mixing audio, but neither are the speakers in the iMac. So at least it's a fair game that way, except I got 50 watts aside. But $130, okay, times 1.13. So we're going to add 146 onto the price of the Mini here. So plus 146 point equals, okay. And then what was my, I can't remember what the card reader and hub cost me, but between the two of them, it was under $100, like way under. But we'll just call it 100, just for giggles. We're way over anyways, but so plus $100. Okay, we're still well under that $2,500, and we've got speakers. You know, I think we didn't add the microphone in. So let's add that microphone. Let me just quickly work that out with tax. So we'll just do that. So I think it was like, do you remember how much I paid for those Shure mics? 130? Thank you. Thought it was something like that. Yeah, so there's another $146.90. Okay, so plus 146.90. All right, we're done. We have a really nice studio mic. We've got a set of nice Mackie CR3 reference monitors. We've got a killer keyboard and mouse. We've got a killer screen. We've got a hub. We've got a card reader, which we way overpriced our budget on, but it's going to be less anyways. We got everything and the whole kitchen sink, and we are still over $100 cheaper than just getting the iMac and nothing else. I don't think we really need iMacs, to be honest. It's way too costly for way too little in the end compared to what we can do with a Mac Mini. Okay? Anyways, I rest my case. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.